endless skies. Oh, I'm living that nomad life, city to city, feeling alive. From mountain tops to ocean drives, unchained, I thrive,
Cool. So thank you so much for joining us here on Nomads 50 Plus. My name is Chris Kalaboukis, and it's my mission, my current mission, to try and get you as an aspiring nomad to leap into the life. And to that end, I'm interviewing 1,000 digital nomads. That's right, folks, 1,000 digital nomads who've already done it and can tell you that they're the happiest they've ever been, and it's not as scary as you think. So we have a special guest here today. Why don't you tell us, introduce yourself and tell us a little about your story.
Okay. Hi, my name is Saska Hayes. I am a New Zealander and I am currently in the UK. So my story begins in March last year when I left New Zealand to travel Africa.
Oh, so you've only been doing it for about a year now? A year and a
So it's
half?
coming up, yeah, a year and a half, 20 months, 20 months.
Wow.
So it's coming up 2 years, which is wild, which is absolutely wild.
Did you ever think you'd be doing this?
So I had always wanted to travel.
Mm.
So I have traveled in the past extensively, but only on trips. So I was born overseas. I was actually born in London. And then together with my family, we moved to Zimbabwe in Africa.
Wow,
And
that's a move. That's some move.
Yeah. So my parents actually met in Africa. So my
Oh,
father was
cool.
Australian, my mother is a New Zealander. They met in Africa, and then my father went into business with one of his best friends, into a safari company.
Wow.
So my mother
And of course, you
and
have
my
to be in Zimbabwe if you're running a safari company. There's no option. You can't leave.
well, so yeah, the thing was is that we were based in so the office was based in London.
Hmm.
They had a shared tourism venture with one of their business partners, and that was based in London. And then my father, who was a mechanic and then a subsequent business owner, they were based in Zimbabwe. So
Nice.
I was born in the UK, and my dad would travel back and forth. And then when I was 6 years old, we all left the UK and we all settled in Zimbabwe.
Why
But
not?
as you I know, right? Why not? But as you can imagine, being in the UK, it's actually very central. And so
Mm.
I began traveling from a very, very young age. I was on a plane before I was one.
Nice.
Um, and
Do you remember
then
that
kind
first flight? Did
of, no, no, I was younger than most, I think. I was younger than most. But I, yeah, so that kind of when I got to New Zealand, so that kind of opened up my life in the sense of I've been traveling all of my life, basically all
Mm.
of my life. But for a lot of it, from 8 until 29, um, was just trips,
Hmm.
so overseas trips. So, Cambodia, Thailand, Europe, UK. I've been, a lot of places, Australia. But I
But
wanted,
you were based in Zimbabwe at the time, and then you traveled to all different places from there.
so we moved from Zimbabwe to New Zealand when I was 8.
Oh, cool.
And then 8 until 29, we were based in New Zealand.
Oh,
So,
nice.
my brother, my mother, and myself, we went to New Zealand, and I basically finished all of my schooling there,
Oh, nice.
and then ventured into a professional career, which was law. So, I was a lawyer for 7 years. 7 years.
Were you always interested in the law?
When I was younger, I watched Legally Blonde.
How many careers did that movie launch, I wonder?
Oh, you would be surprised. So for my generation, it was Legally Blonde and Boston Legal,
Hmm.
is what we all put in our covering letters.
Wow.
Um, but so that when that movie came out, I think I was pretty set on being a lawyer. Um, that was kind of always in the back of my mind right up until I had to decide what I wanted to do at university, and law just seemed like the logical thing for me.
Hmm.
Um, but as you can imagine, a professional career. So I was early 20s when I got out of university, and I was really focused on creating a career. Um,
Are you one of those
and
planning type people who likes to plan everything out ahead of time? Were you that kind of person at that time?
I, okay, I excel in, yes, I enjoy plans.
Hmm.
I enjoy plans. Now, as I've gotten older, but also through my travels, over the last 2 years, uh, you are faced with the reality of how fragile plans are.
That's right.
Uh, and that,
You
you
wonder
kind
why
of jump,
anybody ever makes plans at all, the way things work in life,
you,
right?
you convince yourself into this false sense of calm and safety,
Yes.
on this plan that in the back of your mind is going to change, or it's not
Yes.
gonna. It's going to look completely different to what you imagined it to be. But that uncertainty associated with this lifestyle. Sometimes you do need escapism.
Yes.
Sometimes you do
We
need to trust in that plan that is not going to happen.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you have to have a certain mindset, right? If you go in there with this is the plan, and I got to follow the plan to the nth degree, it's not going to work, right? Because things will happen and they'll change your plans, and you have to be flexible, and you have to be able to do different things if you need to, right?
And I think that is, the realities of, so just moving into kind of realities of life and the digital nomad, you know, because of the frequency of change when you are traveling and you're working and you don't have anything solid, there's no escaping the reality that nothing is solid.
Right.
Everything is susceptible to change. And I think that, when, for example, we were going back and you asked if I liked plans when I
Mm,
started this law. Well, yes, I did like plans, but also when you're in that grind of that routine, you're getting up, you're going to work, you're doing your work, you're coming home, you're going to the gym or whatever you do at the end of the day, and you're going to sleep and you're doing it again. I think we kind of allow ourselves to lull into this false sense of permanence.
mm,
But you can't keep that up when you're traveling or when you're in a digital nomad situation,
right.
because the situation is changing every day.
That's right.
Um, and that illusion is completely shattered, and
Yeah.
and I think one of the things is that you realize that it was an illusion. So right back when I was making plans for when I was going to be this big lawyer,
Yeah.
which, to be fair, I did actually become,
Oh,
but
congratulations. That's great.
um
How long did
uh,
you do it for? Like 5 minutes, and then you realize this is not for me, or what?
no, actually. So, I think my journey is not different,
Mm,
from a lot of people that find themselves in this situation. I think the journey itself looks different in terms of personal circumstance, but the
mm,
reasons might be similar. So, I started practicing when I was 23. I had just finished my master's, and I went into corporate law. But I knew that I wanted to do humanitarian law, some type of humanitarian law, and
right.
my degrees had been in refugee. My degrees had been in asylum law, a refugee law, in
Mm,
terms of masters, and international laws in terms of my bachelor's. And so I actually practiced for 7 years.
Oh, excellent.
Um, and so
So
I
it
went,
wasn't an immediate thing. It wasn't like, oh, this is the life. I'm not sure if this is the life I want to be in. You were in the life you wanted to be in.
yes.
You were
So for
happy
the,
doing what you were doing.
yes, no, I was. So for the last 3 years, I owned my own business.
Nice.
So for in about year three, year two, I started practicing immigration law,
Hmm.
and immigration law really spoke to my caring side.
Yep.
And throughout my law career, you really get to know yourself very well. And so, I found that contribution is one of my main values. And that carries through to now. So whatever I do now,
Did you
it
always
has to.
know that, or did you have to unearth that somehow?
I think as you grow, as in
Mm,
you grow from a child into an adult, you learn a lot of stuff about yourself, especially in your 20s
mm.
when you're finishing off that physiological development, um, and you're opening yourself up to more experiences because of your age. You have more access to money, and so you have more access to more opportunity, etc., etc. Um, my law firm was in immigration law, so that's actually what I specialized in.
Mm.
Um,
This is in New Zealand before you left?
yes,
Okay.
yeah. The the switch to moving overseas and traveling overseas wasn't because my life wasn't fulfilling. My life was extremely fulfilling. I had purpose. I had a business that I loved running. Um, I had, an office. I had friends in Wellington. My family is in New Zealand. I have my best friends are in New Zealand. My
Wow.
best friends. Um, so it wasn't the switch to this particular lifestyle wasn't because I didn't have a fulfilling life. Yes,
Mm,
I was tired. Yes, I was burnt out. Right. Those
right.
are the two realities that I do have to acknowledge here.
Right.
But what actually happened was my firm won a government contract. So we
Oh,
went for a government
so
contract.
that's good, right?
Yeah, so I tendered for it and we got it. Amazing. I love that for
Congratulations.
us.
That's awesome.
Thank you. And I came home in February 2024. I just finished lecturing at at a university, immigration law at a university over the summer. And I realized when I got home that if I committed to these opportunities that were presenting themselves for my firm and for my career, I would never be able to travel
Mm,
for 10 years or 20 years until I was 40. Because what I was embarking on was a long-term commitment.
yep.
And ever since I had left Africa, and this is why I went back to Africa. So I remember Africa when I was a child vividly. Vividly. I
Mm,
really enjoyed being there. And Africa, I think, speaks a lot to my personality and my sense of adventure. So I had wanted to return to Africa for the amount of time that I'd been in New Zealand since I was 8.
right. So you were in Africa,
And
what, for 5 years or 3 years or something like that?
we were at roughly 2, so it was 18 to 24 months, somewhere in between.
Wow, that really left
Um,
a mark on you if it was only 2 years. Amazing.
yeah, and it really did. It really did. Um, and so I had the privilege of having enough funds to decide to say, I can have a career. I can have a big legal career whenever I want.
Mm,
You know, tomorrow is not guaranteed. I think that's a really important realization to come to. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. However, when we're talking about that phrase, tomorrow is not guaranteed, it means I can have a career whenever I want, but I can't travel whenever I want.
True.
Not like I can now. I have no children. Well, I have no children, but I had no partner back then. I still don't have a partner. I had no animals. I had no assets.
You're
You know,
completely free. You're completely
exactly.
free. Mm.
And I also acknowledge that that can actually be a barrier
Mm.
to kind of going on this lifestyle. So when I decided that I was going to
Well,
wrap up,
so
I
you have a
wrapped up.
barrier not having people or having people is a barrier. Which one? Which
Having
one's the
those
barrier?
having those commitments.
Yes.
So I was 30 at the time when I decided to move, and I had that benefit of having everything wrapped up
Mm.
there at that point.
What happened to that government
Um,
contract? Did you not take it, or what happened there?
yeah, so I let that go.
Okay.
I let that go. My mother was horrified. Um,
Yeah, I can imagine. It's
yeah,
like
no, she was.
you're going to be
She was.
set for life, and you're saying no to this. That must have been a
No,
tough time to go through.
no, she did not. She did not have a good time. It's just I guess on a side note, really. So, talking about barriers and having no commitments, where kind of I had that ability to wrap it up. It was actually very difficult
Mm.
to sit in for my family to come to terms with.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I was going to ask
Not
you about
only
that because that's usually the toughest part, is that when you tell people this is what I'm going to do, they're like, "Oh my God, why are you doing that? Everything is awesome in your life." Like,
so I the one of the best things I did was keep it to myself.
mm,
So decided I decided that night that I got home from lecturing that I was going to move to Africa, that I was going to close everything and that I was going to move to Africa because this was life had offered me a chance
right.
to
And if you weren't
change
going to
what I
do it,
had.
now was the time to do it. This was the
Now,
perfect time to do it.
yeah, life had presented me a perfect opportunity,
Mm,
right? It had presented me the calm in the midst of the storm,
mm,
and I had the ability to choose. Um, and it is that choice. It's what life do you want to try to live? And it's not that one is better than the other.
exactly.
Um, but but that choice in itself is a massive choice.
Mm.
And so when I made that choice, I actually kept it to myself for a week. I didn't tell anyone.
Did you actually waver back and forth, or did you pretty much knew? And did you waver during that period?
I was so terrified that I was going to change my mind that about 30 seconds after I made the decision, I went and I got moving boxes from the garage and I started sorting my clothes into what I was donating
Yeah.
and to wear because not only is it a massive choice, but you step into quite naturally this enormous amount of uncertainty.
Mm. So it's
And
not just uncertainty in your head, but it's also uncertainty all around you. Like you're a huge swirling mass of uncertainty,
you're
really.
choosing you're choosing to let go
Mm.
of control. Because again, I mean, you could argue that control is an illusion, but you know, if I wanted to, I could have just put a pin on it and gone to work the next day.
Yep, that's right. But then your life would have been the same for the next 20 years, probably, right?
And the thing is I don't know whether it would have been bad, that would have been better or worse.
Right.
I don't I don't know if there's any value in that conversation for me, at least, because I did have a very fulfilling life. This was just a pathway that I took
Right.
because I needed to.
Mm.
Um, and there's a lot of risk, right? Because we have particular things that we have when we have a solid home, or a network or a support network, where we live and we work, and we drop all of that.
Mm.
Not in the sense of, it just changes that network, and there are those things that you have, the nature of them changes. So, you're going into uncharted territory and you're not
Hmm.
sure how it looks. And I needed time to kind of process that when I made that decision. One, because I knew people would want answers,
Hmm.
and I had no answers to give them. Nothing. No,
Mm.
I had no answers to give
Really?
them, but
You didn't have a
I
good
think this is
justification for doing what you were doing? It was
no,
just,
it was
this is what I want to do?
100% on intuition.
Wow.
It was
That's amazing.
100% on intuition. It was, I know I need to do this. I know now is a good time to do this. Those are the only answers I had. I was confused. It was confusing. No, no. But like I said, life offered me this opportunity, and I had the choice. I had the choice, and I really don't think that my life would have sucked or would have been bad or would have been worse if I decided to go to work the next day and
Yeah.
just put a pin on this. I just think it would have been different.
But you probably would have regretted it if you had gone that path later. And looking
Yes,
looking back, you probably would have said to yourself, "That's I should have done that when this time came." You didn't want to have that
exactly.
regret.
So one of the things I live by, and don't ask me where this phrase came from. This is years and years. This has been with me for years and years. And it's, when I wake up when I'm 40, am I going to regret not doing this?
Mm.
And the answer to that was yes.
Yeah.
Because the drumbeat for me to go back to Africa had been there consistently since I was 8.
Hmm.
But but
Circumstances
things
kept you away. It's
exactly,
like you really
exactly.
like intuitively you feel like you belong there, right?
I did, yes,
Mm.
I did. And I was in Africa for over a year. I was in Africa for 15 months. 15
Hmm.
months. Um, so within 6 weeks, I was on a plane.
Wow.
Um, and we'll circle back to the family thing because it's a really
Okay.
interesting topic.
Yeah.
It's a really interesting
No,
topic, and I
I do
think
want to hear
that
more about that
yeah,
because that is a barrier that a lot of people have to get over. You have friends,
yeah,
you have family, you're stuck in this. I like to think of it as it's like a social web of connections, and they're all expecting you to be the same person that you were yesterday, but now I want to be a new person, and they're all like, what happened to you? Why do you want to change? We liked you the way you were." It's like,
yeah.
but I want to be a different person. Sorry, go
And I
ahead.
think no, that there are layers. There's so many layers to all of that. And I think we end up contending with our expectations and our desires for what we want with our life, for our life.
Yep.
And then we end up contending with our friends' expectations and their desires for who they think we are, who they're comfortable with us being, and what they want for us. And then you kind of amplify that with your biological family members, right? Because
Hmm.
for mine, at least, very strong.
Oh yeah.
Very strong. They will tell you their opinion. And they're for them, kind of me giving up a government contract, me giving up that financial security
Yeah.
in order to go
As a parent,
overseas.
I could totally see how they feel. Like
Yes.
it's
So it
like,
was
have you lost your mind?
so for my family, they thought I was setting my life on fire.
Why
Um,
did you blow it up?
for my friends, they were actually really supportive.
Nice.
They were really supportive. And then for myself, that's the internal struggle. So you're internally struggling with this decision to 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 reshuffle your whole life and just to change the puzzle
Yeah.
altogether. We're just chucking out the puzzle that we were doing, and we're doing a whole new puzzle now.
Yeah, I didn't like that puzzle
Um,
anymore.
and so I sat on it for a week, and then I did 2 video calls. So the first video call I did was to my friends because I knew that they were going to be supportive. Now, now they were
It's actually
extremely
smart to do it
supportive.
that way because you knew that they were going to be the easiest people to tell.
I needed to have a little bit of a bolster to tell my family.
Mm,
Um, Now that's not to say they didn't ask questions.
sure.
Um,
But they were
but
softball compared to what you were going to get with your family.
yeah. And look, at this point, I had no plan.
Mm.
You had no plan. I knew I was going to Africa, one of the largest
Wait a minute.
continents on Earth.
You said you were much of a lot of a planner, and then you suddenly decided you didn't need a plan. That's great.
Didn't I did? Oh, it's not. I didn't need a plan. It's that I didn't have one, and I was
Didn't have
fine with
one. Right.
that. Yeah, I definitely
I
needed a
applaud your
plan.
courage for talking to your friends without having a plan in place already. So they're probably asking you, "So what are you going to do?" And like, I don't know.
No, no idea. I have no idea. I have no idea. Um, so the call to my family though, people will react in the capacity that they have.
Hmm.
And so my family's call was extremely explosive.
I can imagine. Holy cow.
And I think as people that, and the thing is it's not my family's emotions are up here, and I know that a lot of people will be able to resonate with me on that.
Yep, yep.
Um, but there are different people have different reactions, and you're completely right. When you go to this person that you love, and these people that you love, and you say, I'm going to change me now,
Mm.
and I need you to support me through that.
Hmm.
Um, I don't have a plan at the moment, uh, but I need you to sit with me in this darkness, and I need you to not add pressure onto the uncertainty that I'm feeling,
Oh my
or
God.
whatever you need during that time. There are going to be people that are going to be able to give you that, and then there are people that are just not going to be able
Oh
to
yeah, they
give you
probably
that.
won't even hear you speaking. They just heard you say, "I'm moving to Africa," and then like any kind of thought, rational thought goes out the window.
And so I think that it's really important in those conversations. Is like if this is kind of what you want to do, like in yourself, this is kind of what you want to. You don't know how you're going to do it. You
Mm.
don't know what's going to happen. You don't have a plan. You just know that this is what you want to do. And when you're in those conversations and you're required to navigate that whilst internally having a bit of a panic attack, to be honest, because that's what I was doing. You know, it's it's a really good tool to keep the why in. So
Mm.
why am I doing this? And the why for me wasn't like this. It wasn't this big, pretty, convincing explanation that I could give to people and they would agree.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
Well,
the
it's
why
for
is,
you as opposed for
yeah,
them, right? For
exactly.
you,
And why is
it's the
not
right
supposed to
move.
convince anyone. Yeah,
Yeah, and
exactly.
it's difficult to take that and say, this is how like what I've convinced myself that this is exactly what I need to do, and intuitively it's exactly right. And just trying to communicate that to anybody else is almost impossible, especially ones who don't even want to hear it, right?
So after the conversation, so explosive, my mother cried. There was some yelling. You know,
Not
I love them all.
unsurprising,
I love them all. I love them all. And I understand, your daughter getting on the phone and saying, I'm going to Africa, not usual.
right?
Um, not usual.
Didn't quite
I'm
expect that.
closing my little business. I'm closing my little business. I'm going to Africa. Not usual. But for people that are worried about kind of approaching their families in that regard, um, you know, saying you can start that conversation by saying, look, this is what I've decided to do.
Mm,
So go in, be firm. This is what I've decided to do. And then you can say, I'll talk to you about it in a couple of days.
right.
Once everyone's had a think, or
Let it settle
tomorrow.
in a bit. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that that particular conversation didn't go very well for me. But my brother and I revisited that. So he came up to Wellington from Christchurch, which is south of Wellington in the South Island. I think it was a week later. We kind of discussed that I didn't have a plan. Um, and
But it
and
was
you know,
still
to,
okay. They were getting used to it. See, you do need that extended period of time. There has to be that initial explosion, and then there has to be some calm thinking. Everyone's got to go away and just ponder, like get the idea, get acclimated to the idea of you going,
yes,
basically. Yeah.
and I think potentially, I know that at that particular time you may not understand what support you need.
Mm,
You may not know what you need. You may not understand what support you need. Um, but kind of being open to those conversations with family members when everyone's settled.
yeah. Which
Um,
could take some time.
well, it took 2 weeks. It took a week to 2 weeks. I think my brother came up 2 weeks later, and we discussed how I really needed some sort of plan.
Mm.
Now, that plan went to shit 2 months after I got to Africa. Okay, I had this.
But at
So when
least
I
they felt
left,
better knowing that you had a plan, even though that
and that
plan,
and that was it. That
yeah.
was it. So it was a good plan. It was a
Hmm.
solid plan. If it worked out, it would be good.
All
But I
plans are
didn't.
solid before they start.
Yeah. But the reason why I've kind of put those in place was originally I was doing it for them, but
Hmm.
I also acknowledged the benefit of having a plan,
Sure.
right? It's just at that point in my life, I didn't fully understand how fragile plans could be
Mm.
because at that point, I'd been a lawyer for 7 years. There's various particular steps that you need to take.
Yeah.
You can do, and you plan long
Oh
term,
yeah, you plan your
long term.
work and then you work your plan and it just works when you're in
You know,
that
you
environment, when you're in that kind of mindset. And
exactly.
when you're not in that mindset, then like you say, things blow up all the time.
And I think this goes back to the nature of being a digital nomad.
Hmm.
So my plan was I booked a 2-month volunteer program at a private game reserve, which is Phinda Private Reserve in South Africa in KwaZulu-Natal. So I
Nice.
was there for 2 months, and it was amazing.
That was your first
Um,
foray. You just said, I'm going to go there for 2 months and then I'll think about what to do after that.
so I had a position in Tanzania after that for 5 months.
Okay,
So
good.
all of this is voluntary, and it was a community development position. And I was there and I was going to get experience as a project manager. So this initial 2 months was a break. So
Hmm.
I went to this game reserve. I helped them monitor focus species. So like rhino, elephant. I helped in rhino dehornings, for example. So rhino
Wow.
dehorning is a conservation technique where it reduces the chance of the rhino being poached because they cut off the horn. And the horn is just nail. It's just
Right.
keratin.
Right.
So I helped with rhino dehornings. I helped with changing collars for elephants. And
Wow. So
that
just
so they
whatever
would
needed to
be,
be done, you did it.
yeah. And so it was very conservation focused. So camera traps. It was it,
Man,
it was
you must have
amazing.
loved that. That sounds great. That sounds right up your alley.
I did. I'd always been interested in conservation. So when I was choosing what conservation program to go on, I was kind of naturally drawn to conservation. So you've got immigration law here, refugee, corporate law, and then I was the girl that on a random weekend would go and plant trees for the council.
Right.
You know?
So you always had that conservation in the background. It was there.
Yeah. Yeah, or we would just go hike up a mountain, and I mean, there's a lot of them in New Zealand. Okay,
Let me get
like
away from people for a bit. I've dealt with
hills.
people all week long. Now I want to deal with trees.
And so when you're talking about finding your calm,
Mm.
I was found that in nature, and the prospect of doing that around dangerous species was thrilling.
Just a little thrill in there. Just a little bit of
I mean,
danger.
we were charged by elephants. I
Wow.
was I was in the bush going to the loo, and a cheetah walked by
Of
just by
course.
the car, which we didn't see because cheetah are
That's the
effectively
whole point of cheetahs. You're
camouflage.
not supposed to see them.
Like we
Wow.
got stuck out in the middle of the private game reserve one night. The car just stopped working.
Oh no.
We were on the vehicle. You look up, there's just stars. There's just
Wow.
stars. And then you see a rhino pass in front of us, a hyena pass behind us. You've got shuffling in the bush to our left. You've
Wow.
got and so
And at
and
no
so
point in time did you say, "Oh my God, I made the wrong decision."
no, see, I loved it. I loved it. And so the 2 months was amazing. And I was like, I've made the best decision of my whole entire life. This is
Mm.
this is amazing.
I love it. I love it.
Okay, then. So the plan was that I would go to Tanzania for 5 months and then I would come back to South Africa and I would do 6 months in another conservation organization, which was a wildlife sanctuary.
Hmm.
The second position in Tanzania was in a place called Arusha. Now, Arusha is underdeveloped, would be a nice way
Okay.
of of saying it. So a lot of people live there in poverty. Arusha is a city. It is a city, but yeah, it's just underdeveloped. It's
Right.
extremely underdeveloped.
So
We're not
not the
talking about.
same, not a picture of a modern city, sort of like they're a little
So
behind.
you've got imagine like potholes in the roads,
Mm.
the tar kind of cracking, and along the sides of the roads you've got like little tin shops.
Mm.
They have electricity, but for example, the place where I was staying, you don't have washing machines. They wash by hand.
Right.
Um, and the cultural differences in Tanzania in itself are massive, but Arusha is a touristy area, but not like
Mm.
Zanzibar.
Mm.
So Zanzibar is, beaches and all sorts.
Sure.
Arusha, if you were to walk on the gated community, with elephant fences and, people all around me, to Arusha, where, I had to learn the language very quickly, or else I couldn't communicate with anyone.
Wow.
I had to, we were staying in a hostel, but you just didn't go out at night.
Mm.
When you walked along the road, you had to be okay with people coming and grabbing you, and that's not to say that Arusha is not a
That's
place to visit because
that's a
it's
little different
beautiful.
from what you're used to.
I There's the safety factor caught me by surprise
Mm.
when I went to Arusha. And then I was there and I went to this organization that I was supposed to be volunteering for. And then at the end of the week, unfortunately, after asking a few too many questions and being quite naive, I uncovered that this particular organization wasn't doing the most reputable things with the volunteer funds.
Oh no,
And
not good.
there were multiple issues with their accounts.
Mm.
And I had to leave.
Wow. So that was unexpected.
And so
How long were you
this
supposed to stay there for? 2 months?
5 months,
5 months.
5 months.
Holy
I
cow.
even I even had a visa.
Oh my God.
I
How
even
long,
I
so long did
even
you end
had a
up staying
visa.
there? Like a week or less than a week?
So within a week, I called up the volunteer organization. I said I can't continue to volunteer here.
Mm.
And the desperation and the poverty is something that we don't in the northern states we don't really have to deal with to that degree.
Right.
And so what they told me to do is like, just continue volunteering there. You're going to do so well for these
Oh no.
women. It's about the woman. It's about the woman. But the thing is I was like, I cannot be attached to an organization that is okay with extorting volunteers.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want that.
Um, and that, I think it's called volunteer tourism.
Hmm. I've heard of it.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and so my first couple of articles on Substack are around volunteer tourism because I am the person that had all of those experiences.
Right.
You know,
Good and
I
bad.
had good and bad. Yeah, exactly. So I had an amazing experience in Pinda, and then I spent 1 week in Tanzania, and my whole life fell apart.
No, no. Well, no, no. It was just that plan, right? That plan.
So, but keep this in mind. Keep this in mind. And you're completely right. It is that plan.
Mm.
But I had closed my business. And this is so relevant for people that decide to go on this journey. This is so relevant because there
Mm.
will be times where it all falls apart. So I wrapped up my business. I had handed off all of my clients.
Oh boy.
I had terminated my government contract. I had ended my engagements with all of my, accountants and all sorts of that. I had wiped my slate clean. I had this plan for a year. I had this plan for 13 months. That was all planned out. I had all of the visas and everything that I needed. And then everything just crumbled.
Right. Jeez.
And at that
But just
point,
for this 5 month stint, right?
well, see, at that point, I could have chosen to go home.
Right.
And this is where the why comes in.
Mm.
Why are you doing it? Because the why is the thing that's going to get you through. You know, I was doing this because I had this massive drumbeat in my chest to go and find something that I thought was in Africa,
Right.
right?
Interesting.
And I'd only been there 2 months. I could not tap out.
Mm.
I could have gone home and reversed everything.
No, but you'd made a commitment by that point. This is what you wanted to do. So of course you're not going to reverse everything, right? I mean,
And
did you
so
really think hard? I mean, I think if it were me, I would be like, I'm going to go all in. This didn't work out, but I'm going to go all in. I've made the commitment. I'm not going back. Did you ever have that moment of doubt?
I think for me, it was, and I think this is a very real human feeling,
Mm,
this fear of shame,
right.
right? Oh my God, this is gonna fail.
And my whole family and my friends will all be saying, I told you so. You should never have done that.
And for me, that was in the back of my mind for months.
Mm,
For
mm.
months,
I
right?
can see that.
Because
Yeah.
because you have to push through at this point. So I hadn't done what I needed to do, right? You know, even if I had bought a ticket to go back to New Zealand, I would not have been able to get on the plane. I know that in my bones.
Right.
Because I knew that I had not given it the chance that it needed for me
Yep.
to find the thing that I knew I was looking for, but I didn't know what it was, you know? And I think
Hmm.
that people go on these journeys for different reasons. And for me, at least, the reason why I went on the journey, the reason why I thought I went on the journey, right, was the reason that got me to go on the journey, but it turns out it wasn't the reason at all of
Mm.
why I went on the journey. Same concept. I wanted to change my life. I wanted to
Sure.
change my life then. But,
But you
you
also
know,
felt Africa drawing you in, right?
I thought that I was going to find this life in Africa, or this something in Africa, this permanence in Africa. And look where I am. I'm in the UK. Oxford, for Christ's sake. Like, this couldn't be, well, it could be further away from Africa geographically, but you know what I'm saying,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we go on these things, we're thinking, and I think and this is actually something that I would recommend, is that, you know, holding the plan loosely in your palm.
Mm. I think you have to. I think it's essential to do that. You can't hold on to it too tight because too many things change.
And
Everything
it's
changes.
and it's stress. So for me, not that kind of that, and looking back, I wish I had let some of that go sooner, so that all of that potential shame associated with it
Mm.
failing. I don't even know how to define that. But for me at that time, going home was me failing.
Right. Yeah, I can
Um,
see that. I can see that.
and so for me, despite everything that was happening, and I was trying to put it all back together and everything like that, but I was holding on to my plans like this, and I actually think that that didn't help me.
Mm.
Because I was so scared, and scared of disappointing myself, so scared of, having to go back and being like, oh, that was wild. But that also
I
comes
don't want to do
down
the walk of
to,
shame back to.
yeah, I know, right? But that comes down to emotional vulnerabilities that you don't know you had,
Yeah.
or that you're forced to confront
Hmm.
when you're dealing with situations that you have no experience with. I had no experience with volunteer misappropriation, volunteer funds,
And you wouldn't have known it
misappropriation.
even if you did due diligence on them. You probably wouldn't have found out until you actually got there and had boots on the ground, right? But
Exactly.
yeah.
And so, you know, look, I'm not gonna lie, depressed. 2 weeks.
No.
Like,
Well, you would be.
like
Your
it
plans
was
fell through.
it was wild. Um, but you know what? Picked myself up. Picked myself up. And my
Well, you knew what you
question,
weren't going to do at that moment. You weren't
yeah,
going back.
yeah, well, I wasn't going back to New Zealand. And I wasn't staying in Tanzania. Um, and I think that when you're overseas and you don't have that same support network, there are particular things that you can anchor onto when these things happen.
Hmm.
And so for myself, the question that I anchored onto in that particular situation was, okay, yes, what do I need to do next? That's what I was
Right.
trying to
Yeah.
solve. That was the
Yeah.
problem I was trying to solve. But the question that I anchored onto was, where was I happy last?
Mm.
So I really believe in natural flow. So what comes naturally, what flows naturally. So if you're forcing something, maybe something's not quite right.
Exactly.
Doesn't mean what you're doing is wrong, but maybe something's not quite right.
Hmm.
Anyway, so I so where was I happy last? And I was happy last in Pender, but I knew that I couldn't go back to Pender. And the reason why I couldn't go back to Pender is because the experience that I was getting in Tanzania was supposed to be professional development.
Hmm.
And Pender was just above the board, amazing volunteer tourism, but
Right.
it wasn't about upskilling.
Right.
It was about people go there and they hang out with lions for 2 weeks
Yeah.
typically. I
It's
was there
not
for two
building a new
months.
career. What you were trying to do is build a completely new career.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the position that I went to next was another volunteer position, but it was a conservation internship.
Mm.
And it was on a private game reserve in South Africa, in Limpopo, which is north South Africa.
So like Pinder, but with professional development attached. So it's a different version of the same thing.
So same monitoring, but now I had tests, identification of trees, identification of tracks, identification of bird calls.
Right. So building new skills, adding to
Yeah,
your skill set.
GIS, So basically, skills that you need in conservation are
Hmm.
the skills that they introduce you to them there. Now, it was still volunteer tourism, but it gave me 3 months. It gave me 3 months where I had something to do that I was building on my career. And I was still getting to hang out with lions. And I was still getting to hang out with cheetah.
So all the
And,
happy stuff that you did, it's almost like you turned the thing that was just for fun into something that increased your skills and built your professional career. That's
yes.
fantastic. That's phenomenal.
And well, it's the type of adaptability that you learn when you're traveling. You know, I we all have skills from our careers.
Hmm.
And sometimes we just don't understand how transferable they are.
That's
And
right.
so that adaptability I developed in my legal career. Okay? And I applied it in a situation where I had I had no physical support network but for the people that I was staying with at the hostel. Lovely, all younger than me. Okay. all of them were younger than me. Um, so it's those skills that you don't know that you can apply to these situations that you would never have foreseen. But we do, and I
Yeah.
did. That resilience and that adaptability that comes from professional careers or personal experiences, your brain naturally applies it to any
Oh yeah.
situation in front of you.
Yeah.
Um, and so, yes, yeah, I did. I found myself in this conservation internship, and it was great fun. I got to teach at local schools. I helped them with their conservation curriculum. I did all of those kind of monitoring things. And for me, this was also just a really much needed break from the day-to-day grind that I had been going on
Mm.
for, I don't know, I was a lawyer for 7, but I was in uni for 6. So that's 13 years.
Yeah.
And I went straight from high school to uni. So, you know, I had been on this grind. And the ability to take that time and literally just do what made me smile. And look, I know it was all professional development, right? But I take real joy in teaching. I take real joy in that creativeness of making this visual. We walked with cheetah and it charged us. It mock
Oh no.
charged us. You should have
Jeez.
seen the group flinch. My God. The flinch was so big that it was like almost painful, okay? But you get to do you get to do all of these things that you wouldn't usually do, and so you get to then kind of begin to sort through what you want to do
Mm. That's right.
um as a range of different experiences. And I think that people travel differently. So some people have a job and they just take it remotely overseas. My characteristics of my travel were career change.
Mm.
And so for me, it was to my advantage to put myself in situations where various tasks were required. So not only that I could take enjoyment from doing them, but so that I could, in my mind, and I didn't know I was consciously doing this either,
Hmm.
to be honest. But so in my mind, I could then kind of latch onto the ones that really took, or that I really enjoyed, or would stay in my mind. And so I did that internship for 3 months, and I came out, and I had some skills, like
Nice.
had some conservation skills. I knew what I was talking about in terms of the basics, and I had been in conservation at that point for 5 months. Um, and now I had this awkward 6 weeks between when this 3 month thing finished and when my next volunteer visa started.
With the
So this is
normal planned course of events that you had.
exactly. So I had
Right.
this 6 weeks. I ended up getting a volunteer position with a reserve down in 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 Eastern Cape. In
Oh,
Eastern
good.
Cape.
So things happened. Things fell into place then for you. Sounds like.
And I was able to travel. I was able to travel down to that Eastern Cape and continue developing that experience in conservation,
Nice.
but using my professional skills now. So I did basically an environmental impact assessment for them on a potential project that they wanted to implement, and they needed me to research the socioeconomic consequences of that, the side
Hmm.
effects of that, as well as the legal aspects of property land and property law and ownership and municipal policy. So I then took my skills that I'd had again as a lawyer, and then I applied them to this completely different industry. But you know what? Report writing, strength.
I believe that.
And so I was able to do that, and I think again that just shows how sometimes you don't realize how transferable your skills are.
Yeah, it's amazing. So unfortunately, we got to wrap it up because we're getting close to the end. So, where do you see yourself going next after this? Do you have more plans, or are you still like have you continued to plan out, or do you see yourself still not sure of where you're going to end up?
So it's going to be an unfolding journey, I
Mhm.
believe. So right now I'm in Oxford. I have
Beautiful
a
town. Beautiful
yes,
town.
yeah. I have a job in a bar. Um,
Wait
and
a
I
minute.
am
That's not Africa among the animals. What's going on?
I know, right? And I am volunteering for an organization that assists asylum seekers in their immigration processes and also in their social welfare processes in the
Oh,
UK.
fantastic.
So I've, I'm now, I'm now seeing where I fall. Do
Mm.
I want to go back to immigration law? Or do I want to continue to develop a new career trajectory? Am I going to go into conservation? Probably not. It
Mm.
was such a good shout. Okay, it was an amazing time. I loved it. I have discovered that despite that, I am drawn to this policy. I'm drawn to this legal aspect. I'm drawn to this international kind of global political stage.
Mm.
And that didn't leave me despite the travel. And I think that's also another thing about digital nomads and traveling and working is you get to know yourself on a really intimate level because of the amount of situations that you have to be in over such a short period of time.
And the decisions you have to make aligning with who you are and revealing these aspects of yourself that you may not even have been aware of.
And so yeah, so it's an evolving story. It's an evolving story. And I probably will move again. I don't know when and I don't know where.
I love it.
Uh,
You went from such
but
a static life to don't know when, don't know where, and you're loving it, right? You're probably happier than you've ever been.
you know what? I am more solid than I've ever been, despite being uncertain all the time, and that creating a massive amount of anxiety at some points.
Hmm.
But I know that I am where I am supposed to be at this moment.
Fantastic. Not everyone does. Not everyone knows that. A lot of people are still feeling
And
uncertain
I
of
think
where they are.
it's a trust thing, right? So I'm not certain in my position. I'm not certain in what I am currently doing. I just know that I am where I'm supposed to be in this moment on my journey to wherever.
I love it.
So yeah, the uncertainty is good and it's natural, but also I think we need to kind of take it in. We've done this now, right? We're like,
Yeah,
we're in it. We're either going to relax into it or just give ourselves wrinkles. There's only two options.
maybe both. Well, this has been so much fun. Thank you so much. So if someone wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
So I have a Substack. My handle is She Roams, She Writes.
Hmm.
And you can just message me there.
Okay, well, I'll put the links in the show notes below so that people can come directly to you. So that's great. I feel like we've barely scratched the surface of your story, so we should do this again sometime because it was fun. I love it. Thank you so much.
More than happy. You're very welcome. Thank you, Chris.
Enjoy. Bye.
Oh, I'm living that nomad life, city to city, feeling alive. From mountain tops to ocean drives, unchained, I thrive, I thrive. Oh, I thrive, I thrive.